All right. So excited to go live today. Going to bring on my guest. Hello, hello. Hi, welcome. Yay, it worked.
There we are.
We are mastering technology during Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde. How cool
That's
are we?
right. That's what the feminine does. Actually, that's more of a masculine thing, but hey.
Totally. What we did as the feminine is we wholly and fully trusted.
Exactly.
Super excited to be here today on the 13th, 113, and with my soul sister, my fellow Aquarian, Earth goddess, rock star extraordinaire. I love you so much. We just wanted to come in and talk about the feminine. And I'd love to just introduce you a little bit, Willow. We've been friends for a long time and collaborated on many things as the feminine, supported each other through many ups and downs, ins and outs, and transitions. And really, my next level spiritual awakening last year, after the dark night of my soul, or during the dark night of my soul, you really walked me home. I was starting to wake up to myself and come back into the world, and deciding that maybe I was still alive energetically and sensually and sexually, and like, wow, who am I in my 50s? And you were really there as a sister to give me a hand up. So I'm honored to walk this path with you. What's alive within you today?
Well, to
And
be
who
perfectly,
are you?
yeah. So I am Dr. Willa Brown. I'm a Taoist sexologist and an endocrinologist. I have a podcast at Sex Reimagined, and I just walk in the world of helping people find sexual sovereignty. So that is, and that has an ebb and a flow to it. And I got to be perfectly honest with you, I'm in an ebb right now. So even though there's still flow within the ebb, that's the Taoist way. It's like there's always yin within the yang and yang within the yin, but it's good to be in the ebb, because that's the time that you get to rest. Like so you can think of it as the yin time. So it's this time of deep rest. It's a time of replenishing the adrenals. Where I'm at, it's the dead of winter. So there's this deep rest happening on an internal level. And there's still a lot of flow that's happening as well. But I think it's important to take the rest when it comes, because our culture is so yang oriented. We're so, production driven. And when we do find ourselves in an ebb sexually, or with our work in the world, or with our families, or whatever, we start to get down on ourselves, and we start to think, well, I must not be doing something right, or I must not be worthy, or I must not be something, because, look at all these external status check boxes that aren't checked, and we don't take the ebb to really rest, so that when the flow does come, which it absolutely for sure 100% of the time does, because that's what nature does, and we are nature, then we don't have the energy for all that flow to come. So as I sit in this deeper place of stillness and darkness, for me, just really dropping into just the deep nourishment that I know my body needs in order for the next flow that I know is going to come.
Well, and you said to me, when I was really walking through that dark night of the soul, and like as a manifestor generator, and like my service in the world is so important. I was like, but I gotta get back I gotta get back. And you were like, sister, you cannot rush the winter. And that so landed in my heart. And in so many ways, I've been playing with this new year and the great illusion of this new year. Like, the new year does not begin on January 1st. And actually this ties exactly into what it is I really wanted to speak to today, is like, the old calendars before we went into this Gregorian calendar actually honored the cycles of the earth. And I know in your practice and your holistic approach, that's so much, you know, part of the Taoist way and part of you as an acupuncturist and a divine feminine embodied. It's like being in that yin and honoring it like you speak to so beautifully. And we're supposed to have 13 months, and the new year begins right with the equinox in the spring, and that's my natural cycle. So I just refuse to play with the patriarchal Gregorian way right now. I'm like, it is, my new year begins on March something and April something, and I'm just like going with the flow of what feels good for me. But I really wanted to talk about this number 13, and here it is, Friday the 13th. And so, yeah, tell me what comes through your heart when we say Friday the 13th, because, you know, it's a bit of an illusion play.
Yeah. Well, I know we are looking at like this more dark, like this, you know, this stigma and this darkness and, you know, all this like superstition around Friday the 13th that really is just propagated through, you know, horror films and that kind of crap. And so again, it's like this outer, this illusion of like that it should be some certain way. According to who? According to some other person's idea and imagination out there in the world. And that's where we've lost our sense of sovereignty. So I think coming back into like, what is just going to nourish me? What does my inner beloved want today on this Friday the 13th?
Right.
You know?
Well, and what's interesting is, you know, Friday the 13th has been deemed an unlucky day. It's that, you know, it's been made into the horror films, and it's been deemed the day of unlucky 13. What I think is so fascinating is that 13 is the number of the divine feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I just got chills throughout my body. And isn't it interesting that it has been deemed dark, bad, or unlucky? And when we go way back in history before the patriarch kind of, you know, we're dealing with all this inversion in the planet right now, where something it was and has always been in one way, it's inverted. And it's part of this, you know, shift of really trying to manipulate our consciousness, I believe, as we're in this awakening. But the Friday the 13th, it's considered in the days of old to be the day of the goddess and the day of the exalted feminine. And the number 13 is the number of the feminine. And if we take the numerology, the 3 and the 1's 4, so it's like a strong foundation for creating. So I just find it back in the days before we became so patriarchally inverted, it was a day to honor the cycles of creation, of death, and rebirth, just like we're talking about that yin flow, but honoring the goddess and her power for being the creatrix. And then it inverted into being an unlucky day. So how's that land in your heart? What do you know about that?
Well, it just really speaks to this, you know, I think the eons that we've been coming, that we're still healing, that we're very much healing from right now, that, you know, the feminine is very powerful. If you look at the earth, you know, that is the ultimate feminine energy in our world. And she's fucking powerful, you know, and she can move mountains and she can crumble cliff sides of Santa Cruz.
And water can come pouring from all directions of her beloved essence, right?
Yeah, so there's really profound power that she holds, and that's true too inside of every single human being's body, because we all have the feminine within us. Women who are really orienting as women and have these strong womb cycles, they have this really incredible profound power and an innate knowing, like this very intuitive psychic ability that's very innate. And I think that can be really scary because it's not so tangible. Like you can't put your finger on it, you can't have it, you can't hold it, like it's. And so I think
but you got to own it simultaneously, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think it's really scary for those who are not in touch with that inside of themselves to witness that in those who are. And that's where we get into like comparing mind and all these different, you know, patriarchal sort of paradigms that are not serving us, are causing us more anxiety and depression and
separation and isolation. And
yeah.
I think really that I love that you talked about that sister wound, that, you know, the shadow or the void of feminine
Yeah.
is that competition instead of collaboration. And
Yeah.
again, when we go into the ancient practices, the women gathered in temples, and they gathered, especially during ritual and moon cycle, right? They gathered in commonality, communities, commonality. You and I tied together in commonality, and the
Mm-hmm.
women knew in the red tents, and like they
Mm-hmm.
knew to come together. They knew they were stronger for each other, with each other. I just so feel like we're coming into that remembrance now, and
Yeah.
we get to we get to collapse this old illusion in the 3D and really rise the feminine into that memory so that we can heal and heal Mama Gaia too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It does feel like there is a lot of women stepping forward, ready to do this work, ready to lead this work, ready to just intrigued in this work. And men too. I see men all over who are like, there's something's got to shift, like something's got to change inside of me. And, working with people around their sexuality, I see that as the root of where we all come from. Like we would not be here without sexuality. And so it's very much this deep, deep root that the roots need to spread. A lot of people in their sexuality, and if you're getting super in touch with your sexuality, you're getting in touch with your femininity. I don't care what your gender or non-gender is. And so taking that kind of, a lot of times I get with people and it's like their roots of their beingness, like their essence, their true Jing Qi essence, sexual energy is in a balled up little root knot. I'm like, okay, we've got to spread the roots. We've got to open this up a little bit, give it some space, give it some life so that your branches and your limbs can reach up higher for the sun's light. There's got to be some replenishment to the soil and some space to your
Bloom can
history.
occur, right?
Yeah,
And let
exactly.
the bloom
Yeah.
occur for sure. Um, well, in honor of the divine feminine and the desire to keep this short and sweet, on this Friday the 13th, what are you offering in the world right now? How can people play in your magic?
Well, one of the easiest and freest and funnest ways is to start tuning into the Sex Reimagined podcast, which we release every Tuesday. I co-run that with my dear friend Leah, and it's amazing. You'll learn so much, and it's just like endless amounts of learning there. We're also leading a male G-spot masterclass this month, so if you haven't done any anal play yet, then you might want to open up that root chakra because there's a lot of pleasure to be had in that space. And then next month, I'll be running the Jade Egg Remedy, where I teach women what to do with their yoni eggs. It's not supposed to just sit in your panty drawer for years on end. There's actual
Like, I
practice.
bought it. We're good, right?
Yeah. So if you
Awesome.
don't have a yoni egg, or if you've always wanted to, or you do have one and you don't know what to do with it, then Jade Egg Remedy is going to be a pretty, pretty powerful 7-week course that's coming up in February.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love your work, and I'm on your podcast. I can't wait for that to launch too. So we'll
Yes, you
bring
are.
that to our communities when it launches. That'll be fun, and I'm so excited. And again, part of the reason I wanted to connect with you today, Willow, was, when this eruption of remembrance began. It's like just about a year ago, because it was just before my birthday, and here we are, our Aquarian golden age energies uniting. Was this deep, really coming back into my own kind of, you teaching me about sex magic practices and finding this deep communion with Mama Gaia. And what's come through my soul in this last year is the women of what I'm calling the ripening, right? Like a women through menopause. My partner died last year. I ended a 15-year relationship with him. He passed away. I was like lost and forgotten. And it's like so many women, especially in their 50s or their later 40s, that like I'm invisible. A friend of mine told me that his ex-wife had said she was out to pasture. it just like hurt my soul, you know, like, and to remember that if we're in the exalted feminine and in celebration of this divine goddess reemergence, women of this age we're ripe. We're delicious with wisdom, and we're not dried up and washed up. We are actually holding the codes of great divine feminine power. And I literally in a priestess initiation 2 months ago, I literally vowed the rest of my time here to stand as an advocate for this, for the women to remember, um, as I'm remembering in my own soul. So I just launched my first program in this movement called She. And I truly feel like she is a movement. So this is She Awakens, and she is coming through as a Sacred Heart emergence. And she will move into remembrance, and she will move into rising, and then she will shine. So she has a lot of expressions, but she is launching next Thursday, and I have room for 2 more women. I'm gonna welcome 13 women into it to honor this divine number frequency, and I have space for 2 more. So the early bird special expires at the 13th hour. No, today it expires. So it's in the link in my bio, and if there's a call in your heart, I would love to share. So Willow, it's always a pleasure. Maybe we should do more of this, because I just love being in your energy, and it's
I
always
think
fun.
we should. Yes, most definitely.
And everything's linked in your bio as well.
Yeah, all the links are
Awesome.
there. Dr. Willow Brown on Instagram.
Yeah, follow, like, and do all the things. And have a blessed, magical Friday the 13th, because this is when all the good stuff happens.
The divine feminine is with you.
Indeed, it is true. I love you.
Love you, love. See you
Bye
soon.
for now.